friends, it's Kelly here with Kelly Crafts It All. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel, whatever the case may be. If you're new, welcome. If you're old, hi, welcome, and welcome back. All right, guys, today I thought I'd bring a sewing tutorial to you. I haven't done a sewing tutorial in quite a long time. And I had a lady that is in my in the swap group that I host over on Facebook. My friend Deanna and myself, we host a swap group over there. And she's in that swap group, and she had requested if I would show how I make my craft totes. Now, that's been like my new thing. I'll get on something and I'll send it to everybody, and then I'll, okay, I'm done with that. But these seem to be a big hit. So here's this tote. Don't mind the inside. It's a little wrinkled. I had things sitting down in it and stuff, but I'll give it another press before I ship it off. But this has little pockets in it, and you can put anything in there. I mean, it'll hold big scissors, little scissors, and pens or pencils, stuff on the outside. And you could put, maybe small craft items inside, or use it as a sewing bag, or use it as a beach bag, and you tuck your suntan lotions in there and stuff. You could use just about anything, not just a craft tote, but for anything. But this is what we're making today, and I'm going to show you how we do this. And then I have some smaller little ones here that will hold like an ink pen. That one's got that grippy thing on it, so it doesn't like to go in there, but it probably, there, it'll fit in that one. So you can put the ink pens in there. And, yeah, that's what we're going to make today. So, I'm going to go ahead and get us set up to sew, and, meet me back. Okay, friends, I'm back, and we're going to get started on our tote. So what you're going to need is some fabric of your choice, whatever you want to do. Is good. You're probably going to need just a little, I would say a little over a half a yard, 3/4 of a yard of fabric. Maybe 2 fat quarters. I used fat quarters from Dollar Tree, and I did 2 fat quarters, and then Walmart, I bought a whole yard of this, the lining. What I'm using is my lining fabric, because I needed a piece long enough to, I mean, you could use it out of this, but it was the direction of the fabric wasn't long enough for my handle. So, I mean, I probably could have got it cut that way, but it was only $1.25, so I just bought 3 of these and used 2 for the tote. And I could have cut this one and made a handle, but I didn't want to cut into it, and I just made the handle plain. So, what are you going to need? Okay, we've got a handle going on here. And this is going to measure 3 inches wide by 22 inches long. Okay? And what you're going to do with your handle first, I like to do my handle the first thing, is just, now this would be your handle, but it's longer. So this is the 3 inches right here. And then the whole width, it's about the width, the whole length of your piece of fabric. And then we'll cut that in half. So, but how I press mine, bring my pressing board over so I can show you, because I have that's 3-inch piece of fabric, and I don't interface this piece, but I just press it out, and then I'm going to fold this in half. Press, and then where that seam line is, you're going to fold these raw edges to the fold. Now, I am in no way a seamstress. I just like to sew, and this is how I do it. So don't get up there and Tell me I'm doing this wrong and doing this wrong and doing that wrong. I'm doing this the way I do it. You do you, boo. That's all I can tell you. So I've seen on some sewing tutorials. I think that's why I don't really like doing them. I've seen where people get on there and get really nasty. I mean, they get, down to, oh, that's called thread, not string. And it's like, for pity's sake, it's, a home video. It's not, I'm not being sponsored by some company and have to make sure that I've got all my adjectives and my nouns correct. So don't come after me for that. So you're going to do that whole length of this, just like that. So you're going to have this whole thing like that. Okay? And then we're going to stitch down this side and then down this side, and we'll do that in just a minute. So you'll get that all pressed off and set that aside. So we'll get that prepped. So then we're going to go to our fabric. So we got our handle prepped and ready to go now. So what else are we going to need? We're going to need a few panels of fabric, okay? We'll start with our main body of our tote here. So this is our craft tote, and your outer fabric and the interfacing is going to be 13 inches wide by 10 inches tall. You need to cut 2 of each. 2 of your your outer fabric and 2 of your interfacing, and yeah, and I've got the wrong wrong one pinned. It don't really matter. These 4 pieces are all the same size. So this is actually, yeah, because this is going to be your outer fabric, your interfacing, and your lining. And I don't have the lining on there, but it's going to be your lining as well. So, reach in front of you, but there. I'll have a little, up here in the right-hand top corner, I'll have all the measurements and what it is, so you can follow along. So, we need 2 outer fabrics, which is your pattern or whatever fabric that you're going to be using. I got this cute little truck fabric. So that's going to be the outside of my tote. And then this is going to be my lining fabric for the inside of my tote. And then I've already went and put my interfacing on. And I'll put a picture of the other interfacing I like to use. Walmart sells it over in the fabric stuff, and it's called like shirt tailoring interfacing. I like to use it because it's a little more stiff, and they consider it more like a medium weight interfacing. So I thought, okay, well Amazon had this big roll for $10, and it's lighter than that, and I wasn't really impressed. So what I do is I will cut 2 pieces of interfacing and iron them together. I put this is iron on. This has got bumps on one side and smooth on the other. The bumpy side is going to go down to the wrong side of your fabric. Okay? Now, I'm not going through and trying to teach you exactly how to sew. I mean, hopefully you have some knowledge of sewing. But your bumpy side would go down on the wrong side of your fabric, like so, and you would cut it out or cut it and then iron it on however you want. But if I have the lighter weight stuff, I'll put 2 pieces on there. Or you can even, interface the lining if you want it even heavier. So we've got these 2 pieces of the outer fabrics. These are 10 inches tall by 13 inches wide. Same with the lining fabric, 10 by 13. It's cut the same. Then you're going to have your outer pocket. And I guess I could have took all these pins and stuff out of here, but I didn't want to lose track of what I was trying to do. And then this is going to be made up of your You know, your pretty fabric, your fashion fabric or designer fabric or whatever you want to call it. And you're going to need 2 of those. And those are cut at 7 3/4 tall by 13 inches wide. Don't worry about these little markings right now. Those are for later. Then you're going to have your outer pocket lining. And this is the lining part of the pocket. And it measures 8 1/4 tall by 13 inches wide. Now, if you do so, you're probably wondering, why in the world are you why are you cutting that much bigger? You'll see when I get that far. I'm going to just turn that little thread off. So that is the pieces that we need. Okay. So that's the outer pocket lining is 8 1/4 tall by 13 inches wide. All right. So we've got that all taken care of. We've cut our fabric, we've put our interfacing on, we've prepped our handle. So now we're just about ready to sew. And a few other things you might need are some scissors. I have some little thread nips here, measuring tape, ruler. I use this bone folder to poke my corners of my bags and things with, so I don't poke a hole in it with scissors. Done that too many times, so I don't like using scissors. I like to use these. Or a chopstick is good. Anything that's got a soft point to it, but you don't want to jam these pointy scissors up in there that are sharp on the end. You might snip a thread, and then you got to go back and stitch it. So, and maybe a marking tool if you sew and you have a heat eraser, or you know, the markers. When you heat it, and then it'll disappear, or it disappears when it's washed. I don't use them. I don't care for them, so I don't use them. Okay, so we need those. And then you're going to need your sewing machine, or whatever you have to sew with. Now I'm sewing with mine is a Brother sewing machine. Just going to move this out of the way for you so I can show you. Mine's a Brother Project Runway limited edition, and I've sewn on this thing for many years, and I love it. It's a little dusty sitting over there in the corner. I have a dust cover, and I took it off last night, and because I was going to sew something, and then I changed my mind. I didn't feel like it, so I just shoved her back over in the corner and didn't put her cover back on. Okay. So this is the sewing machine that I am sewing with. Now, I use cone thread. You don't have to. Use whatever thread, however you like to thread your machine. But I have a cone of thread. It's cheaper that way, and I like to buy it and buy the cones instead of the spools. And that is it for that. So, I'm going to turn my sewing machine on. And then on my machine, I set mine to the number 1. My stitch length is at 3.0 or 1, yeah, 3.0. Okay. So that's how. Don't mind the tape over here. When I sew these, I forget what I was sewing something, and I needed to mark it so I could sew it straighter, and I just never took it off. Okay, so I don't know how well you're going to be able to see me sewing, because this is at a very weird angle. But I'm going to try it. You should be able to tell what I'm doing. If not, you may have to get a new camera angle, but I'm not sure. Okay. I gotta sit down to sew, and you have to have try to keep my machine closer to me so I can see, but that's okay. All right, we're gonna start off with our handle. This is the 3 inches by 22 inches long, because we're gonna cut it in half. And I'm just gonna give this another quick little press. And my iron is just an old Sunbeam iron that I've had for umpteen years. It's moved from Ohio to Arkansas. And I've moved in Arkansas 3 or 4 times, and it's gone with me. It works. She might not be pretty, and she might not have all those, you know, big old features on it like all these, I think it's Oslo or Oslo or something, some of them fancy schmancy irons. To me, they don't perform as well as my old one. Sometimes I'd rather go to a thrift store, go find an old one that works real well, grab it. They're heavy and everything. Okay, so I've got this now. I've got this all nice and pressed down. So, what I like to do, I mean, I don't know what machine you're using. So, it's different for everybody. But I like to start, and don't worry about these ends. We don't have to do anything with those. We're just going to stick this in the machine. Like I said, you're probably not going to be able to see what I'm doing. But hopefully you'll get the idea. And I can set mine. I've got little markers on my presser foot. And I like to stitch this at about, 1/8 of an inch. And I can move my needle over all the way to the right. And then I drop that needle down, see where I'm going to be at. And then I ride my edge of my fabric right against the inside of my feed dogs on my sewing machine. We can just get started here. Now, this is kind of awkward because I'm used to sewing all the way over to my right side, and my machine's up close to me where I can see, so this might be a little awkward, but we're going to give it a go. Now, I like the back stitch. You don't have to. And I go slow. I don't try to go real fast. Trying to keep that as straight as I can. And see, it's coming in about 1/8 of an inch or so. Now, this is a handmade gift. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's not going to be, a factory-made item where everything's pre-cut for you on, dies that they have on their machines that stamp them out a million at a time. I usually try to go slow because I'm getting off here. And then I'm just going to turn it and just travel across the end of that fabric. Just one less thread I have to cut. And I'm trying to line that up. And I'm going to go down the other side just the same as I did on this side. Okay, there, I got that all stitched on both sides. I'm gonna snip my threads off here, just like so. So this is what we have. Now I got off a little, made it a little wider there, but hey, it's handmade. It's not gonna be, like I said, be perfect. All right, get them threads out of the way. All right, so now we're going to move on to the main part of the bag making. So what we need to do is get our pockets. Remember, we have the outer pocket and the inner part of the pocket, the lining. I'm going to move my sewing machine over just for a minute. So you're gonna two pockets, one for each side of the bag. So we'll work one pocket at a time. You're gonna have your main fabric of your bag pretty side up, and then your inner lining piece is going to go on top of that. You're going to line up your top. Now you can, I have clips that I use. You can clip it, you can pin it if you need to. I usually don't. I'm not big on that, so I've got that done now. I'm going to reset my machine so my needle's back to the middle. Putting my needle back into the center position, because remember I scooted it over. So when you put this together, you're thinking, well, that's not right. Yes, that's right. Don't worry about it, okay? I'll show you what we're going to do. We're going to have a little, instead of putting a binding, I hate doing bindings, and this tote was inspired, or I'm following her the way she did it. It's Charmed by Ashley on here on YouTube. She makes this tote. So, I just kind of followed along, you know, just followed her tutorial and did it. And, she does it this way too, because she don't like to do binding. And I was like, oh yes, I hate binding. All right, bringing this machine back. And I'm going to stitch. Okay, I've got the right side of my fabric up with my lining matched on the top. So now on the top, I'm going to stitch 1/4 inch away from the edge of this fabric. I'm still set at 3.0 stitch length. And my 1/4 inch is about as wide as my presser foot is. So I'm just going to start, and I'm going to back tack on that. And I'm just going to stitch it straight across. And back tack at the end. Snip my thread. Okay. And now I'm going to move this other pocket and handle out of our way here. And now I've got this stitched right here. There's a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'm going to bring my little board over here and I'm going to press it. I took home ec. I know a lot of you, if you're younger, you don't know what home ec probably was. But I had home ec in, I want to say my junior year of, or not junior year, but my junior high. I think it was like 7th and 8th grade or something like that. And she always taught us to press our seams flat first and then turn them over. So what you're going to do is now you've got this sewn together. So you've got this front and you've got your interfacing. And then I like to take my fabric and press it towards the lining. Little tug there. And then you flip this over and you match up the bottom part of the pocket. Okay, so now we're going to match the bottoms up. And when you do that and you put this down, you see you get a little like 1/4 inch, a 1/4 inch little pretty. It's on the top of it. And mine, that's weird. Go back and press that seam again. Make sure that seam is pressed. And now, since I pressed it while it was kind of weird, it pressed that way, and now it's got the memory of that. Okay, so I have that like this. And then I can lay that flat and then go in here and press it. And then after we get this pressed down, I'm gonna top stitch, and my iron steamed went on my table there. And now mine's a little wavy because I'm not gonna worry about it. It's fine. We're gonna they call stitch in the ditch. If you know what that is, it's running a stitch in where there's two pieces of fabric meet. So you're gonna run that right down through there. And that's what we call stitch in the ditch. Get my sewing machine back in here. Now I can't tell if it's in frame, and if you can even, I know you can't even see what I'm sewing, but I mean how I'm sewing, but like I said, if you're new to sewing, you might want to go take a look on YouTube for some beginner sewing tutorials or something, because like I said, I'm here, having the basic knowledge of a sewing machine and sewing. Okay, so I'm gonna go in here and stitch in the ditch. I back tack though on everything. Just take your time. There's no need to hurry. You're just stitching in that ditch. All right. Now I'm getting myself all askew with this sewing machine. Okay, so I went ahead and stitched that, and then I'm big on pressing. I like as crisp as I can get things. And I'm going to go back in here, and I'm going to press this down again. All right, so we've got that done. That's one pocket down. Okay, and then we're going to do that to the other pocket. If your edges are off a little bit, don't fret. You can always clean those up. It's not a big deal. So we're going to get our other pocket. Again, if you have directional fabric, make sure it's the right way. If it's non-directional, you can put it any way you want. Good side facing up. Threads. Lining pocket lining on the top of that, matching your top edges, and stitching this at 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'm just going to come over here and run that real quick because we've already did one. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and repress this one. Because I'm used to my big iron board. This tiny little board. Alright, so that there. And then match this up here. This over here. And then make sure I got this as even as I can. Like I said, if it's not that perfect, it's okay. We are gonna we're not gonna worry about it. We can always trim it up at the end here. Get everything even. Like I said, I'm not a professional seamstress. I just sew for fun. Okay, we're going to go back and stitch in that ditch again. Got that one done. I did get off a little bit there, but not that upset about it. If it bothers you and you want to rip it out, be my guest. I'm not doing that. Okay, so we've got our pockets done. So that's our pockets. This pocket's really bugging me. Now, I may not be professional, but I do like my things to be even. So, okay, I'm not happy with that at all. It's like, this one's nice and straight, even though I got off there. I've got more junk. But anyhow, I'm not gonna worry about it. I'm just gonna leave it. I'm not gonna fret. I'm just gonna go with it. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is some measuring on this pocket and get our move this aside. I just don't have enough room. And I'm going to get my main tote part out and a pocket. And we're going to lay this pocket on top of that. This is your main fabric of your tote, your pocket. So you got your right side facing up and the right side of the pocket facing up. And you're going to line this up side to side, bottom on the bottom. And you're going to try to make that as straight as you can. So if I'm a little crooked on the bottom, I would rather it to be off on the bottom than up here where you're going to see it. I just eyeball it so that it looks visually appealing. Because this fabric, it's, you know, probably not even cut straight from the factory. So if I go and try to match up everything on that truck like that, it's crooked still. So I'm not going with that. I'm going to just make sure. If you want to measure, you can measure. That's up to you. I'm just going to try to make sure it just visually looks straight to me. And that looks good. So now we're going to do some measuring. So we're going to need a ruler or a tape measure. And something to mark with, or I like to use tape. I got this off of Amazon. It's like painter's tape, and it's 1/4 inch width. You can use whatever tape you want. Okay, so now that I've got this, you know, to where I feel like I'm eyeballing it and it's even, I'm gonna pop a few pins in here. Just to keep me from moving that pocket, because now, as you can see, my bottom's off, my side's off a little bit. So this is where I'm going to come in either with my scissors, or if you have a rotary cutter, you can do that. And I would line this up best as I can. Get my big ruler out. I'm going to line this here. My rotary blade. Give it a little trim up. And then my side here is a little off, so I'm going to trim it. Not even. And that end looks to be, it's a little off on the back, so I'm just go in here and trim it up. Yep. Make sure you have a really sharp rotary tool to keep from having to press so hard and slipping and cutting yourself. Mine is, do as I say, not as I do. Mine's a little dull because I decided to get off track one day and tried to cut through my big metal ruler, and I mean, I gouged it in there. So now it has a burr on it. And it catches. Okay, there we go. I squared that one up. So I'm going to show you what I do on this pocket, and then you can transfer all that over to your second pocket. Because we're doing the same thing to both pockets. Okay, so we got our pocket, we've got our main fabric, and as you can tell, I probably didn't even really cut that straight, so that's probably why my chucks look like they're going up the hill. So, it's okay. So what we're going to do is we are going to measure up from the bottom of this part. We're going to measure up 3 inches. So don't mind my old measuring tape. Had this thing ever since I was in home ec. So now when I mark, I either use a piece of chalk, a pencil, or some tape. But I'm just going to make a little tiny tick mark with this pencil because you're not going to really see it. Come over here, measure up 3 inches. And then I'm going to get my ruler back out. Safety first. Always close your rotary blade. Don't leave it way open. You run your hand up along that thing and give yourself a good slice. So I'm just measuring, you know, putting that ruler on the tick mark of my pencil there and the tick mark of my pencil there. Now this is where I do not like to draw a big line across there with that pencil because you're going to be able to see it. So what I do is get my tape. You can just butt that tape up against the ruler. Cut that all off. Make sure I got that. And now I know I need to stitch on the top part of this tape. Along here. Not down here, up here along the top part. So, and if it doesn't look straight to you, and maybe you got it off a little bit, just go in there and eyeball it, fix it. For me, I'm more accurate just by looking at something and telling them it's straight than to have a level and tell me that it's straight. There's pictures that I've hung and I've put a level and it says it's level, but when I look at it with my eyeball, it sure don't look level. I go back and I adjust it and there. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay. If you're in doubt, get your measuring tape back out. Measure twice, cut once. Now that's 3 and a little bit. 3 and a little bit. It's not off that bad. I could have moved it all down, but like I said, this isn't rocket science. Okay, so I know I'm going to stitch on the very top of that tape. Not on top of the tape, alongside the top of that tape. Now, if you need to put more pins and clips and things like that, go ahead. I do like to put one here at the bottom. And bring the sewing machine back in. And I'm just going to straight stitch down that, where that piece of tape is. And I have like a little mark on my zipper foot. Look at my zipper foot here. It's got one little mark there, a mark there, and a mark there. I'm lining mine up, my needle, with this and the top of that tape. Goes right where that groove is. That's where I'm lining it up. Since I don't really have a camera set up for sewing because I don't do that many sewing tutorials, so I don't even know how to set it up. Guess if I got a tripod and sat it over here beside me, maybe. I tried that when I did that tissue cover, and every time I moved my desk or was sewing, my camera was jiggling. Now my camera's mounted above me, but it's not attached to my desk. It's attached to a shelf that is not attached to the desk. So I can jiggle my desk all day long, and it doesn't, I mean, it'll move it, but it's not as bad when I attach it straight to my desk. Okay, so I'm going to stitch. Now you can back tack here or not, whatever makes you happy. Like I said, I back tack everything. Just take your time. And when I'm sewing, I'm not looking at where my needle's going at my needle. I'm looking ahead where I want to go with my needle. You know, like when you're driving a car, you're looking ahead a few feet to see where you're going, not where, you know, where your car's at. So that's what I do. Just go in here and stitch. And mine well, I think this one just automatically does it. I don't remember ever having a switch. Some machines have a switch that you can switch to have it in the needle down position. But I think this one just automatically does it. I'm not sure. I don't remember. It's been so long. I've had this machine for years. My husband bought it for me. Oh, many, many moons ago. So, and if you stitched over your tape a little bit, it's okay. It'll come off. So I'm taking that tape off. So there, we have this stitched with our pocket, okay? I'm going to do that to the other one. And I like to get my machine out of our way. Bring this in here. And this is that wonky pocket I don't care for, and I'm half tempted to get a new one, but we'll rip this out. I should rip this out and show you how I rip things out, because I don't even own a seam ripper. Never used a seam. Well, I did back when I was in high school, but my nephew's wife Now, she was a professional seamstress. She worked with dry cleaners for years and years, and then she finally opened up her own dry cleaning business, and then she did alterations. So I would go over and help her and work, and she taught me so much and she's like, why are you sitting there ripping that out with that little picky tool? She said, I'll show you how you do it. She rips out this, it was a tiny little knife, and she'd had it for years, and it had like a bone handle, and she just took that knife and went right up that seam, and I said, holy cow, I have that fabric tore cut to pieces. She is not a fear of blade sharp, you'll be fine. I was like, okay. And she taught me how to do it, and I've done it that way ever since. Got this now. We're going to line this up, and yeah, I got it off, and yeah, I'm not worried about it. It's handmade. I'm on camera, so I don't know. It just doesn't want to work out. Okay, I'm going to line that up, make sure it looks straight. This is a wavy. Doesn't look straight, but it is straight, I guess. Okay, so I'm going to do that. I need to re-even this back up. Okay, good enough. All right, measuring up 3 inches. And I had 3 inches and a little bit because that was just what happened. No, I'm not worried about it. All right, 3 inches, and just a little bit. You go 3 inches. Well, at least try to. Now, I'm going to get that. I'm just going to reuse that piece of tape I had. And I'll go ahead and put another little mark right there. It's very rainy today, or this weekend here in Arkansas, and my sinuses are just giving me fits. Okay. A couple pins in here. Okay. And like I said, we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to stitch down on the very, while my tape, I'm going to stitch on the top of it. Now, also what I like to do is before I commit to anything, I like to get in here, just kind of make sure that this is matching up. And this is matching up. You don't want to have this drop down 1/4 inch and this up 1/4 inch. And it just, you know. If you do, it's not a big deal. I mean, you could still use the tote. It's just not going to be as visually pleasing. But, you know, it's not going to kill it, so. All right, let's get you back in here. I don't know how I did that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stitch this again. Get back on my mat. I was wobbling. Okay, let me stitch this, and then I'll be back with you. Okay, I'm back. Got mine stitched down. That 3-inch mark. See a couple threads here. I'm going to put them on back or right here. Clipping threads because I don't need those caught up in my machine. That's the other thing. I like to make sure I always clip my threads. I don't want them caught up in my binding up in the sewing machine. Okay, we're going to measure in 3 inches from here inward. Okay, and we're going to measure that actually up here. So, your measuring tape, come in here, measure 3 inches. Lost my pencil. There it is. 3 inches, make a mark. And you're going to sew down to this bottom, to that line that you made, that stitch that you made. You're only sewing to there. So 3 inches to there. And then get my tape. Well, I've got a piece cut, and then I have another piece cut, and it's sticking in my fingers. So I'm going to line my tape up here. Here. I'm going to do the same thing over here. Hold my finger there because I can't hardly see that mark because it's right in that little tire. And it's not long enough to do diddly with, so let's get in it, please. Alrighty. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stitch, and if you're using tape like I am, 1/4 inch tape, you're going to stitch on the right side of the tape, on the right hand side of the tape. Okay, and we're going to do that to both pockets. So when I get mine done, I'll be back. Alright guys, I got that done. So, got 2 pockets started. Now this is where you go on your own and figure out what you think you might want to use your pockets for. If you're making this for a friend, think about maybe what they might use it for. If you don't feel like putting any other little pockets in, you don't have to. You can leave them all big like this. I do on one side because I think, well, you know, what if they want to put a pack of tissues in here, or their phone, they want to slide their phone down in here or something, you know. I leave one side, I don't touch it at all. Then the other side is where I'll come in and make marks and do it. When you're sewing these pockets, I forgot to mention, and I should have, like I said, always watch my tutorials all the way through first before you start. I like to start from here and sew this way and push that fabric this way. So you start this way, you're pushing, and that's what I did. I started here and I pushed that down, and now I got some ripples. So I'm gonna go in here with my iron and give it a press. Let's see if I can get some of that out of there. Okay, that's a bit better. All right. So now, like I said, this is where you make it your own on your pockets. However, your little heart desires. Now maybe here I want to have a pen. And I'm not even measurement. I'm just eyeballing it. Because it's what I do. I hate measuring. And it's ridiculous for me. And I hate it. And then I look and I think, maybe they want to put a pen there. Maybe they want to put something. And then maybe I'll just divide that in half there. So maybe they'll have, like, you know, so you know that maybe, you know, a pair of scissors will fit down in there, and maybe a smaller pair could fit down in here. And then you'll have this one. This will be on the side of your bag, and then you'll have, well, minus a 1/4 inch, you'll have this little pocket here, too. So that's all I'm going to do with mine. I'm just going to go ahead and do this. Like I said, I eyeballed it. This is, I'll give you a kind of a measurement here. From the stitch line to this on the right hand side of this tape, it's about 1.25 inches. Then from the edge of that tape to the edge that I'm going to sew, it's about 3 3/8. So, you know, like I said, you do you. You put your little pockets wherever you like. Okay, so now this is, like I said, stitch from the stitch line here up. Because if you don't, I got them little puckery things. So now I know. And I'm not, don't go all the way down in here. And don't go all the way up. I did that too, and I had to sit there and rip part of it out. So just be mindful what you're doing. I'm back tacking on everything, especially at that top. Because, you know, when they're pushing things in, they're pulling that. And I'll show you a little trick. If I can get this angled right. Which probably not. But anyhow, what I do is I'll stitch up to where I'm to the end. Right here. And I'm going to back tack. And I'm going to go back up. And right when I get to that edge, I'm on what I was taught by my nephew's wife is called a lock stitch. You hold your fabric in place, hold it tight, and just let that needle run up and down, and it knocks that thread. Because sometimes when you just back tack and you lift it up, you'll lose like a stitch and a half or 2 stitches, and then it's like, it come apart right there. But if you lock it, it automatically knocks it. And you'll see the knot on the back of your fabric. You can feel the little nub. And don't cut the nub off. Just cut the thread. A little bit above the knot, you know, above the knot, just like if you were knotting a piece of thread. I mean, we don't usually cut it clear to up to the knot, because it'll pull out. But that's how I do that. That's what she taught me as what is called a locking stitch. And I have done it all ever since she has taught me that. And I do it. I usually do it on everything when I have to stitch something like this, where I've got pulling on fabric. Okay, so we got those. Like I said, you know, you do your pockets how you want to do yours. Space them out how you want. Personal preference on that. There's no right or wrong. Only those 2 on the end, you might want to follow that 3-inch rule, because it just helps with the side pockets being even and looking just more appealing. You can take that tape off and set that there. I think I'm done with the tape now. And I think I'm just gonna leave this one. I'm thinking. I don't know. I think I will. I think I'm just gonna leave this like a nice big pocket. Alright, so let's move on. Alright, now we've got the front part. I'm gonna take this pin out. I don't need it anymore. We've got the front part of our bag, okay? So I like to double check and make sure things look even. And you know, they're even enough. They're lining up. So I'm going to take one piece, one pocket, doesn't matter which pocket, and my fabric facing up towards me. The pretty part is up. This one, the pretty part's going down. Boom. We're going to line everything up. If you got to square something up, you got like a real big piece hanging over, like something like that, go ahead and you can pin it and trim it, clip it and trim it. I'm going to look at what I'm needing to do is look at these pockets and stuff first before you go whacking up your fabric. I try to make sure I've got the stitch lines even together and that my pockets are even together. More so that my pockets look more even together, because you're going to see that more than you would that stitch line. But the stitch line that we did make down here is going to play an important role here in a little bit. And I'm going to clip, whoa. That's the 3rd clip I've broke this week. And I don't know why they're snapping all of a sudden. And I'm going to come back over here on this side, on the other side here. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to match up the pocket. And that stitching there. think I'm squeezing them too hard. Okay, so I got that done like so. And then you can, you know, clip it where you need to. And I'll see this pop on this side off a little bit. Push it up there. And now mine looks like it's all out of whack. And it is. It's all wonky, and I'm not worried about it because the magic of rotary cutters and rulers. I'm going to get my ruler again. Okay. Now, you might have to move your clip somewhere else. And I'm going to get some of this mess out of the way, okay? Because it's just driving me crazy. And I'm going to square this up. Best as I can. You can use your mat and you know, square it up all as much as you want. This side looks pretty good. Not a little bit. Just a little bit on the bottom here. Oh, right, there we go. All right, got that part of my bag all squared up pretty good. So we're ready to stitch it. So what we're going to do is we're going to, I usually start, you know, either side, whatever, and I'm going to stitch 1/4 inch down here, and I'm going to turn the corner, pick up my needle or my presser foot, spinning around, stitch 1/4 inch here, do the same thing, presser foot, pick up, stitch it, 1/4 inch. And sometimes mine will try to hump up because I don't have a walking foot. And I'll sew so far, and then when that ripple meets, I push it, and I push it towards the back, like, and smooth it out, and then continue to sew. And if you have, like, one of these little pokey tools, they help a lot, too. of trying to push that fabric without sewing over your own finger. Okay. All right, our bag is, this part of our tote is put together. So, this is what you should have. Now, my top got off a little bit because, you know, it's on camera and just how it always rolls for me. I don't know. Trying to get on this darn camera. I just lose it. Everything goes wrong. And I don't know why. So, I'm going to come up in here and I'm going to trim this off. Like so. And I'm sure I just cut all my back tacking off on the one end. So, I'm just going to pop it in here right quick. Just running. Run a stitch right there so it doesn't hurt. I mean, it's not the end of the world because we're going to stitch this together anyway, but it's just me. So, we have our bag. So, if you want to, you could flip this inside out and take a look at it. I like to make sure I've got all my seams got caught. I don't have any, you know, holes or anywhere where the fabric didn't catch with the lining or whatnot. So I like to turn this back the right way. You don't have to be real finicky about poking all them corners out and stuff either. I'm just looking at my seams to make sure I don't have any type of fabric like not in the seam. And I think I've got everything. Everything's good. Okay, so I'm going to pop this back out the way it was. So mine looks fine. Now if you need to go over and you got a little too close to the edge and some of your fabric got off of there, just go right back over it, fix it, move your needle over a little bit, fix it. Okay, so we're done with this part. So I'm going to set this aside for right now. We're going to do the lining right quick. The lining is so simple. Just the two pieces of fabric. All right. Just going to line this all up here. Boom. Boom. Line it up. You can clip it or pin it. And we're going to do the same thing we did on the bag. Leaving the top open. We're just going to sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance down here across the bottom and up the other side. Let me see if I can do this one right. And when I get up to that, I have like a little grid, and if I get my edge of my fabric right on that first line of that grid, I can turn it, and that's a 1/4 inch. Oh, well, stop and back the train up a minute. Don't do what I'm doing. Okay, when you're stitching this, I forgot to tell you, you need to leave an opening on the bottom of the bag. Like I said, watch my tutorials first because I'm a human. I make mistakes. So I sew about here. I mean, I thought of it as I was doing it. I just forgot to tell you. So I'm stitching here, and I'm going to stop right here about here. And then I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to start again. Just going to pick my pressure foot up. Jump here, back tack here. And then I'm going to stitch here, and then back up. Because this is where we need to turn our bag through. If we don't have that hole, we're not going to be turning nothing the right way. So, as I was doing it, I made so many of them, I think it's just like I do them. I just walk right through it and do it, and I don't even really think about it. Because majority of the time, I'm watching a movie or listening to a podcast or watching one of my favorite YouTubers or something. You know, I'm watching y'all, YouTube channels who I'm subscribed to. So, it's just, I don't even think about it. I just do it. And then when it comes time to try to teach something, I'm just lost because I don't. So I usually don't teach too many sewing tutorials. Alright, got that down on this machine down. Now you're just going to come in here where you jumped, or if you back tack and cut it, and back tack and cut it, you're fine. Just going to snip them threads. Alright. Alright. Now I like to get my little I go over it a little bit to get rid of some of them loose threads. Or it'll pick up a thread and show me, hey, it snipped out my off. Okay, there we go. Okay, that's the lining. Okay, got that and got it back. Alright. Now we're going to box our corners. That's what it's called, boxing the corner. Very easy. Very, very easy. We'll do our start with our lining. We are going to measure in 3 inches. Yeah. So I start from the edge of my fabric. I'm going to go up 3 inches. Don't mind the background noises. My husband's in the kitchen. And then I'm going to come in 3 over here. Like so. I usually just draw a line, or the easier way to do it is if you have a paper trimmer. You have a scrappy paper or a post-it note or something. And you go in here and you just cut yourself a 3x3 square. This is a post-it note. It's a 3x3. And you lay that down there in that corner. And draw your little line. Because nobody's going to see this part. It's going to be inside. So I wouldn't use ink or anything. Ink pens or markers that don't wash out. I'm doing that. I do this. Album and frame, y'all. So I just did a 3x3 square on those corners. Flip it over. I'm going to do the same thing again around this side. And do it on this side as well. I have 2 pieces of paper. Odd. And if my seams are off, I go with this. I just do the shorter one or make up the difference. I told you I'm not a professional. I just sew it. So that's what we did. Now the reason I do both sides is because when I come in here to box my corners, I'm going to pinch this over here on this side. You can pinch that. And you can come over on this side. You can pinch that corner and pull. And then just make sure your seam, your line is all lined up. And you have your stitch line. And it's a little more straighter than trying to measure from the tip of here up and drawing lines. But to me, it was easier that way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to this box in the corner. I'm just going to do that. If you want to make sure that all your, make sure your seams are together in there too. And if you got one seam going one way, you want the other one to go the other way. Like I said, I'm doing this and hoping that you have some knowledge of sewing. This is not like, a beginner could do this. It's very simple, but I'm just not breaking it all down of everything. So sometimes I even just hold mine up to the light, and I can see through it, and I can see if that seam is matched up, and if it needs a little zhuzhing, I'll zhuzh it. I'm going to stick that in my machine now. Make sure it's all flat. And my seams are both the same way. So whatever way you have your seams when you sew this side on this one, do the same on the other. And on the bag, it's kind of nice because it's actually kind of built in for you. You don't have to measure. Just the lining. I'm going to do the same on the other side. Do the other corner. And then make sure everything, double check everything first. And then you can go in here and this machine is far away from it. And you can go in here now and trim that off. Now it went off a little bit. It's not that big a deal. It's the lining. And I'm going to cut it off evenly about 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Just like so. These I just throw mine away. I don't keep them. Okay, so there's our lining. That's done. Set that aside. Now we're going to do the same thing to this bag. Now it's going to be a little bit more bulky and a little bit stiff, but you can do it. So you know where we put that 3-inch stitch line all the way. It's all the way around now. You're going to do the same thing. You're going to square up that bottom of your bag, and I'm going to push my seams together. Or if you want, you can do opposites, however you like, whatever is for you. We have that stitch line. Make sure when you lay your bag down and down inside, you've got them seams lined up, because it's kind of hard to line them up by the light, but it's thicker. I just walk it down best as I can, flatten that out, and where we stitch that, down through here. I'm going to stitch right over top of it. I'm going to do it on both sides too. I'm going to stitch right on the top of it, or just a little to the left of it. Just a scant, a 1/16 of an inch, just, you know. Put that under there. Back tack. And I'm going to stitch it across. Like so. All right. Rid of those threads, and then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to tuck that in there. You can even come in here and grab the points where those are at and lay it down. Move this away for a minute. And just like I'm like leaning into it from the side and just kind of pushing it down, flatten the bottom of that bag out. Make sure it's flat. And then push that down. There we go. If you feel more comfortable giving that a little press to hold that, you're more than welcome to. I'm not going to. I'm just going to stitch this. All right. There we go. Boom chakalaka. Okay, so we have our bag. Once again, before my lining I knew was okay. I'm going to turn it the right side out. And I'm just going to take a look at those stitches, make sure I've got everything stitched, or if I got that stitch line and I don't like it showing and or whatever, you can go back over it again and maybe move up to 1/16 of an inch. Mine's good, fine, I like it, it's fine. And now we're going to put the lining in the tote. The hardest part is pretty much over. So now that I know I'm good, I'm going to go ahead and do the same here. I'm going to cut this, leaving a 1/4 inch. And cutting through that hump. If you've got good scissors, it's not too bad. I'm using my craft scissors, and I've got my fabric scissors right here. Now these scissors I won't suggest. I bought these off of Amazon. They suck. But there was like 6 pairs in there for like $8 or something like that. And I thought, oh, those are good enough to have a different pair in each room of the house. They're okay for some things, but thick fabric, not so much. Okay, so I checked it, we've clipped everything. Now we're going to take the outer bag. And we're going to turn this in turn it the right way out. Like this. This is where I like to use my bone folder, and I'm going to go in there and I'm going to poke those corners out. Make sure there are all those corners out of there. Seams are laying flat. Okay. So, ta-da! Put that. This one we're leaving with the seams outside. We're going to plop it inside. With these seams and these seams are going to match. Just like that. But first, we've got to turn the top edges of the bag and the lining. I go about a 1/4 inch. So, you know, if you're really technical, get your ruler out, measure down the 1/4 of an inch or a 1/2 inch. I go about a 1/2 inch. I leave it a little right in between. It's not a big deal. Now, if you are your sewing machine, not sewing machine, or ironing board, and you know the narrow part of your ironing board, you can lay this in there and just go around and press it. But I'm not there, so I'm going to try my best to do it here to show you how I do it. So I'm going to fold this down. And yes, this is very awkward. It's to my ironing board. Give it a good little press. Oh, what I like to do is I'll just go. Now, see, I had cut that. So, see, my seams starting to come apart. That's why I back tack everything. So, I'm going to fold that down. The seam. I've sewn so long, it's almost like I know what a 1/4 inch is. Or whatever seam allowance I like. And I'm just going to do the same thing. Cross that side down. And I'm just going to start working my way around. And sometimes if you do that and grab them and kind of give it a little pull, it will kind of give you an indication of where you need to press. Oh my goodness. So this is a little more than a 1/4 inch. It's about a 1/2 inch. Okay, we got that one done. Set that aside and do the same identical thing to your lining. So we're going to fold it backwards this way. Okay, got that all pressed off. Move him and move him. Okay, get our handles, our strap. We already got that prepped. So, what I like to do is just fold this in half. Wherever my half mark is. These little cutter beads, they cut like butter. And I just go snip. Now you have your handles. Now, if you get this up here and you're like, oh, those are so long, cut them down, you know, just however you would like them to be, however long you want it to be. So get your lining again and put it back in your bag. Line up your side seams here. Line up your edges. I like to scooch mine down just about 1/8 of an inch so that it's not my lining fabric isn't poking over. And I'm going to go to the other side. I'm going to do the same identical thing. Line them seams up. Just start working your way around your bag. And I like to just go ahead and clip it or pin it all, and then I'll worry about my handles here in just a minute. And if my lining is acting like it's a little bit bigger than the bag, I just kind of ease it around. And if I get a pucker, I'll put it over here on this side seam so it's not showing as much. I try to keep it all lined up and just kind of push it that way. Because sometimes, now I should have did like my home ec teacher always taught us, and she said you always sew and figure where your 1/4 inch mark is, and then move over like 1/8 of an inch, and then your lining will fit perfect. But I didn't. The things you think of when you're sewing, which I've forgot all about that, and it just came to me. I was like, I don't remember her telling us to always sew our lining a little smaller than what it needed to be. Okay, so I'm pretty, I'm out of clips, so I'm going to pin that one. I think my clips are in my sewing room well, it's where I go iron everything, and my 3D printer's in there, and whatnot. Okay, so we have our bag, we have our lining in there. Ouch, that's why I don't like pins, because they're supposed to. So your lining might be just a hair bit big, and it's okay. It's not a big deal. Okay, so now we got to figure out where we want to put our handles. I like to go from this mark where the point is, where we boxed our corner, that point, follow that stitching up, and then I like to measure mine to be about 2 inches in. So I'm going to find that 2-inch mark, which is right on the edge of my clip. I'm going to flip over here. And then I'm going to take my handle, and I'm going to tuck the raw edge down in there. Put it up to, well, for heaven's sakes. Only on camera I can put these things together like nobody's business and not have a problem. Okay, so the 2-inch mark is right there. I'm going to have, whatever side, I'm just going to have that edge butt up to that 2-inch mark. If that makes sense. Measuring it. So this far edge here, I'm going to meet there. I'll pin this so we can actually see what's going on. Okay, so I have a pin there. So I'm going to take my handle, my raw edge, and I'm going to put it in there, and I'm going to butt that up to that pin, like so. And then I'm going to clip it or pin it. I ain't worried if they're straight right now. Make sure you don't twist your handle. Just follow it around. And then this is where, you can figure out, is this way too long for you? Let's see what the other one is. Let's see. So I thought this was a nice, nice handle. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball it. So I might want to take off about 5 inches. So you might want to take off, well, I'd say 4.5. Leave yourself room to tuck it down in there. You want to. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut mine and I'm going to take 4 inches off. That to me is just a tad bit long. And I'm going to do the same measurement again with my pin. And from that corner of that bag where our seam is, I'm going to measure in 2 inches. Put the 2-inch on there. I think. You just got to play with it. Decide where you want your straps. I mean, this goes straight up like that, so 2 inches is putting me right about here. Make sure you keep it on. Don't twist your strap. Now I got clips in the way. I'm just gonna tuck that in there. Make sure you tuck in a good 1/2 inch or so. And then I'm gonna tuck that down in there. Pin it. Check it. See if that's where you like it. Okay, I'm not too happy with that, so I don't like it that close. It's awkward to me. I don't like it that close. So let's just go out, let's say 1 inch from that corner. So I'm gonna, the first strap is easy because you could just, I mean, just eyeball it really. You just, now that I know I don't like that, I can move them. And let's say, I'm just gonna eyeball it to about where that is there. So I'm saying I'm more like an inch. Yeah, I like that better. It gives a little more span to hold the bag. You get them too close together and then the bag starts to buckle in on you. So now we're going to turn the bag around. We're going to find our other strap. And I remembered that I cut 4 inches off that other one, so I'm going to do the same. Because mine were 22, but it's just a little long for me. And then I'm going to, now that I know it's 1 inch, I can come in here, from here, say there's 1 inch there. Let's put a pin there. If you buy straight pins from Temu, beware. There are a bunch of dull ones in there. I've gotten so many blunt end ones that didn't even have a point on them. And I was trying to drab it into the fabric, and oh, it was a mess. So, my suggestion is, if you're going to make an investment on anything in your sewing, get some decent pins. If you're going to use pins. Move that clip out of the way. Tuck my handle down in the hole, in between the lining and the bag. Make sure I got it straight. Make sure I got it, at least I can feel down in there. I feel like I've got about 1/2 inch or so down in there. Pin it in there. Now, when I do this part, I'm going to take this and I'm going to hold that strap up. I'm going to hold this strap up. Put this to about where it's even. If you need to, make a little mark. So that way I know. Just make sure you're not twisted. That's always my faux pas, twisted handles. Made a bag for my friend that passed away at work. She showed it to me. She's like, do you see what you did to this? And I said, no. She's like, this handle's all twisted. I said, oh, for pity's sake. I said, let me have it back. I'll fix it for you. It's not a hard fix. She's like, no. She's like, there's a character. And I know it's handmade. But okay. There. So there's our handles. And you might just hold on to it. See how you like it. Is it still too long? Is it too short? I mean, if it's too short, it's kind of boogered up there, but I think if you take the 4 inches off, you'll be fine. If you want to, you know, really measure, go ahead. I'm an eyeballer. I don't like measuring. All right, now on the sewing machine, if you have a removable plate, a removable bed plate on your sewing machine, I don't know what the technical name of this thing is. It just comes, mine just slides off. So now it makes it a lot narrower that I can slip my bag on and stitch. So what we're going to do is we're going to stitch this bag on, and I'm going to stitch, well, you can go like about 1/8 of an inch, or, because I do 2 rows of stitching because of the handles. So I go around, then I move down like 1/4 inch and go around. So, you know, you can do that. You just put it together, you know, how you want. I start on a side seam over here so that, you know, this back stitch isn't so noticeable. I'm going to get that clip out of there first. Find my, oh, it's my limit clip. There it is. I've got to get some more clips. Look at that. I need to get some more. So, I'm setting my presser foot where mine is, because I have a adjustable needle. So I set my presser foot where it's sitting right, my fabric's sitting right on the edge of my presser foot. And I'm going to push my needle over as far as I can get it, and it stops. And I'm going to sink that needle down and see if I like it, which it's pretty good. So I'm going to leave it on just a bit. And then I'm just going to back stitch and watch on that seam. It's a little thick. And now I'm just going to stitch around. Try to make sure I keep that lining tucked in. Ouch, pins. Ouch, heck pins. And I'm just gonna sew around. Just sewing out all the way around. You want to make sure you got your handles straight. Just sew it around. Make sure you got them handles pulled out. They have a tendency to want to kind of tuck themselves up under sometimes. So make sure you have a hold of them. Whenever that other seam, I'm going to take my time. I hope this isn't putting y'all. I don't know. I gotta figure out a new things. I have another sewing tutorial I want to do for you. I had somebody, well, the same lady that requested this, requested to know how I made that pincushion thread catcher. And I told her I'd do that. But I gotta find my tripod. It's around here somewhere. I've got coming up to that strap, making sure I got that strap straight, and I've got it pulled out. It's not tucked up under. I just went way off. And when I do that, I'm going to back that up a little bit and just start again. There we go. Take that pin out. Sometimes I'll get my stylist to hold that for me. I'm trying to do that. Handle, because it's a little thick too. Okay, here comes this handle again, and of course, my back gets twisted. So, see, trying to think a step ahead of what you're doing. Keep them threads off. Coming around. Coming around. And attack. I did a lock stitch, that's up to you. I'm going to lift this presser foot up. Now I'm going to move this down when my edge of my presser foot is even, or is with the right side of my presser foot is even with that stitch that I just made. And I am going to see, you have to judge it where you see if you like it better. So I'm gonna, yeah. And I'm gonna do it again and go around one more time. Okay. You know, only on camera did it do this. I never have a problem, and I don't know why. It slipped down. My lining got short. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go from the lining side where it went off, and I'm going to just take it. Just going to run a small stitch right along that top where I missed it. This and binding, it's not my favorite part of sewing. Used to be I hated zippers, but there's some really good tutorials out there on putting zippers in, so they're not so scary anymore. Now I don't mind them. And now that I've moved on to using zipper tape, I really don't mind them much. They're still a pain, but okay, there we go. I stitched it. It's cool. It's golden. We're golden. We're done. Okay, so we got our bag. It's not the perfect. It's got a little ripple, but I'm not gonna. It's handmade. Now we got to close up our lining because you know you don't want to put stuff in there and have it falling in between. So you can either hand stitch this if you'd like, or machine it. I'm gonna machine mine, and I'm just gonna pull on them sides. Make that as flush and even as I can. I need to get that seam, and I just kind of roll it and then pull that, and then it'll do it. And then come over here and press it with your iron. And that'll give it a, it'll hold it for you. And then I just go and start stitching where the, you know, where the hole starts to where it ends. And I use just about an 1/8, or about an 1/8 of an inch. I'm just making sure that you got those edges matched together so you don't do like I did on the lining. But you're gonna take your time and do it. I usually am, this takes me forever because I'm usually really slow. And when you're on a video, I don't know why, but I just feel like I have to hurry. Snip your threads. And this is the part where you go through your bag, make sure all your threads are snipped, check for any holes and or anything that may have occurred. And now we've got a tote bag, or a caddy, fabric caddy. And there's Vaseline over there. And that is it. And you can fluff it and tuck it and do that. If you're, let's see, I need to go back and stitch that down again. Just another spot. That's all right. You want to decorate it up, like on this one, I just added a couple buttons there. You can do that if you'd like. If you have the cam snaps, if you want to put a snap, you can snap it if you'd like. It's your tote. You do what you want to do with it. But that is how that tote is made. So, Tracy, I hope that helps you out. I don't think this was one of my very best tutorials, but that's all I got. So I figure out a better camera angle. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Love ya. And I'll see you in the next one where we will be making one of these. I'll just go ahead and show you. Oh, that's where all my other clips went too. Forgot. There well, I did have winkies in there. This is what we're going to make next time. Yep. This is really simple. And, so, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and tell you, if you are going to want to make this, I'll do this tutorial either tomorrow, which is Sunday, or I will do this midweek somewhere. You're either going to need some rice, and the rice you can cook in the oven to make sure you don't have any critters in there or whatever. I baked mine at, I think, 300 for like 10 minutes, or no, 200 for 10 minutes. And then we're going to make this. This just hangs on your desk. Like, you know, if this was your desk, it hangs down. Put your pins here, and then, or clips or whatever. And then you throw your pieces of thread, fabric, or whatnot's in there. And when you're done with it, you just unsnap this, and you can go over there and dump your little bucket out. And then you just got to snap it back on. Because, you know, trying to shake this out, I see a lot of them where they were sewed. And I like this style. And then just, you know, you have to take the whole thing out and shake it. And you got your pins and everything going with you. So, yeah, Tracy wanted to know how this was made. So, I'm going to show y'all how I made this. So, that will be on our next video. So, you'll either need some rice or some, I think Polyfill makes them. They're the pellets. The little plastic beads, you can use those. I think you'd probably use like lentils or beans or something. Oh, or ground walnuts. That's the other one they really was pushing around, was the ground walnuts, because I guess the ground walnuts also help to sharpen your needles. You know, back in the day, we had, I know when I was in home ec, we had the tomato, the little strawberry on the top, and the little strawberry was filled with emery sand. And you would poke your needles in there, and it would sharpen them back up and take any burrs off of them or whatever. So, apparently the ground walnuts do the same thing. All right, this video is way, way, way longer than I wanted it to be. So I'm going to hit the road and go do something else if he swaps together. And, yeah, this was my one I made for myself because I needed one, and I had made my friend who hosts the host swaps me, Deanna, sorry, Deanna, I made her one of these, and I think she likes it. I don't know. She's gonna say. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Bye.